After the breakup, the narcissist always appears as the victor. You know, they smile brightly in new photos, flaunt a new partner, act happy and moved on. To outsiders, they seem to prove that you can live better after a breakup. But if you look a little deeper, you'll see it's only a thin shell erected to hide the enormous emptiness inside. Unlike ordinary people, when they break up, they don't feel sadness, nor do they truly learn anything. They don't know what regret is. They only know replacement. They don't know what hurt is. They only know escape. For them, love has never been about connection but about control. They love to be reflected, to be idolized, to feel special. So when the relationship ends, they haven't really lost you, they've lost the mirror for the ego they built. And instead of confronting that loss, they dive into finding someone new, chasing new pleasures, seeking anything that briefly makes them forget the void. Yet that void doesn't lie outside, it lies within them. They can change partner, change setting, change their life, but they cannot change themselves. And so, the cycle of collapse begins. In today's video, we will walk through 6 stages, 6 layers of a narcissist's downfall after a breakup. From the initial illusion of victory, to the panic that silence brings, and finally to the moment they must face the very emptiness they have long fled. This is not only their story, but also a mirror for you to look at yourself, to understand that their moving on is never a victory, but merely a fall disguised by a smile. Stage 1. The grand illusion of victory. After leaving, the narcissist often believes they have entered a new era, one in which they are freer, more radiant, and happier than ever. They want the whole world to see that. You'll see them posting smiling photos, traveling, loving someone new, talking about peace, gratitude, and personal growth. But if you've ever been in that relationship, you know, everything they display always mirrors the opposite of what they feel inside. When the narcissist loses you, they don't lose a person, they lose their emotional supply, the only thing that makes them feel alive. So, instead of confronting the emptiness, they must construct a different story, the story that they have won. They need to believe they're right, that they left because you weren't good enough, that they occupy a higher position. It is the ego's self-protective mechanism, a dazzling shield that hides the fear of exposure. They are not happy. They are exhilarated. And exhilaration, unlike happiness, is a reaction, not a true emotion. It comes from adrenaline, from the feeling of power, from making someone else suffer before they can make me suffer. During this stage, the narcissist lives in a temporary delusion. They convince themselves, I was right to walk away. They need to retell that story to friends, to a new partner, and to themselves until those words become a tolerable falsehood. But deep in their psyche, it is only a frightened reaction to being replaced. The narcissist cannot bear the idea that someone else can live well without them. So they must prove the opposite, that they were the one who moved on first. In truth, they are not winning, they are spreading an illusion, like a painkiller for a disintegrating ego. And like any drug, its effect is temporary. When the exhilaration wears off, when there is no one left to witness their better life, they will have to face what they have always fled, the void. And that is when they move on to the next stage, the desperate hunt for a new supply. Stage 2. The hunt for new supply. As the illusion of victory begins to fade, silence closes in. With no one left to mirror them, no one to prove they are special, the narcissist falls into their most familiar state, emptiness. This is not the emptiness of loss, but of non-existence. They do not know who they are without another's gaze upon them. In that moment, the ego starts to tremble. For ordinary people, solitude is an opportunity for reflection and recovery. But for the narcissist, loneliness is an existential threat. Without someone to drain energy from, they feel like a soul separated from its body, panicked, insecure, and desperate. They are not seeking love, they are seeking fuel, a new supply to breathe, to cling to survive. This is when they don their familiar seductive mask, meaningful glances, sweet promises, gestures that make others feel special. But in truth, they are not falling in love. They are selecting prey. Every compliment, every caring act is a probing step to see who can provide the feelings you once did. What they crave is not you, nor the new person, but the sensation of being filled. Yet, like any addict, they do not know moderation. They keep consuming, but are never satisfied. So the moment their supply stops admiring, stops submitting, stops reflecting them, the narcissist again finds it hard to breathe. Boredom, irritability, and contempt gradually surface. They begin to pick faults, to demean, and to repeat the very cycle that once destroyed their relationship with you. The thirst never ends, because it does not come from a need for love, but from a fear of being forgotten. In their mind, there are only two roles, the one to be idolized and the one who disappears. And they will do anything, pretend, manipulate, or be ruthless to avoid the latter. But it is here that the cycle begins to crack. For soon, their new supply, just as you once did, will realize that behind that charming smile there is not a soul capable of love, but an energy-draining machine wrapped in human form. And when that illusion begins to shatter, we move into stage 3, the crumbling illusion. Stage 3, the crumbling illusion. Then the illusion begins to crack. Not with a loud bang, but through very small details, a once admiring glance that falters, a boundary finally set, or simply the other person's silence in the face of an unreasonable demand. To most people, these are normal occurrences, but to the narcissist, each one is a stab at the ego. From the moment their new supply no longer reflects their perfect image, the fantasy starts to collapse. For a narcissist, a relationship was never about love, but about mirroring. They don't care who you are, they only care about who you make them feel. When the mirror no longer shows that beautiful reflection, they lose not only you but the very false self they have been living through. What was once sweet turns bitter. They begin to cast blame, to demean, and then to reverse the victim role. I've changed. You're not the person you used to be. You make me feel awful. Each word is not meant for genuine communication, but to protect the illusion that they are never at fault. This is the stage at which many who have loved a narcissist mistakenly believe the narcissist hates them. In truth, they hate their own true self, the weak, dependent, fearful part that is now exposed. The new partner, just like you before, is only another reflecting mirror. And when that mirror begins to crack, the narcissist must shatter it before they see the one thing they hate most, their own inauthenticity. This is also when the narcissist plunges into an internal crisis. They begin to experience something strange, not pain, but meaninglessness. They cannot love, yet they cannot let go. They are no longer interested, yet they cling on, as if releasing their grip would send them plummeting into the void. And they would be correct. For once the illusion collapses and no one remains to prove they are special, their inner world reverts to its most primal state, absolute emptiness. The truth is, the narcissist cannot tolerate reality, because reality kills them bit by bit. They will do anything to flee from it, remask, find someone new, or even try to come back to you not out of love, but because they need something to cling to, an image through which to exist. But no one can live forever in illusion. And when every reflecting source has vanished, the only thing left is the panic in the silence where they must face themselves with nothing left to hold on to. Stage 4. The panic behind the mask. After the illusion collapses, the narcissist enters the silence, a dark realm they have always avoided. With no new supply to flatter, no audience to perform for, they are left alone with the echoes of their own mind. And in that stillness, what they fear most emerges, the truth. Silence, for them, is not peace, it is punishment. For when there are no external sounds, they begin to hear the internal reverberations, the emptiness, the confusion, and the faint cry of the humanity long buried. But the narcissist does not know how to listen, they only know how to fill. So while the world assumes they are recovering, inside them rages a silent chaos, like a house crumbling without anyone noticing. At this stage, panic is no longer loud, it is more insidious, deeper, more destructive. The narcissist becomes obsessed with the ex, not because they miss you, but but because you represent the last part of the world that made them feel real. They monitor you from afar, silently, even contriving accidental encounters not out of desire to reconcile, but because they need to know they still affect you. Just seeing you in pain makes them feel alive. And if you remain silent, they panic at the thought that they have disappeared completely. Psychologically, this is the ego's collapse, where the self has no support. All the things that once made them feel powerful, admiring glances, laughter, messages, compliments are gone. They realize that no matter how many new partners, how many trips, how much extravagance, the emptiness remains, like a void that devours everything. And their greatest fear is not losing you, but losing their image of themselves in your eyes. With no one left to prove they are special, desired, or valuable, they descend into a terrifying stillness where every lie reverberates in their mind. That is when true panic sets in. They frantically try to reclaim that sense of power by stalking you, attempting contact, or even boasting about their new life as a final performance to sustain the remnants of their ego. But silence is not your enemy. It is theirs. Because when you remain silent, they have no audience. And when there is no audience, the drama ends. From here, they have only two choices. Either rebuild a new illusion to escape, or confront themselves, something most never have the courage to do. And that is when they enter stage 5. The desperate rebuild, where they attempt to mend the cracked mask even as their interior has grown completely hollow. Stage 5. The desperate rebuild. After plunging into that terrifying silence, the narcissist begins to do what they do best, reconstruct a fake world to escape themselves. But this time, it is no longer the arrogant confidence of before, but a desperate, trembling effort driven by survival instinct. They rush to re-establish their image. It might be flashy social media posts, boastful anecdotes, a conveniently timed new person, or declarations that they are living their best life ever. But all of these displays are merely bandages over a wound that has never been properly treated. Deep down, the narcissist cannot bear their own collapse because in their world, failure equals non-existence. They don't know how to heal. They only know how to reproduce the illusion as quickly as possible, just to avoid facing the truth that they are disintegrating. The behaviors in this stage are very characteristic. They flaunt a new relationship, brag about achievements, even taunt or provoke you as if to prove they are superior. But if you look closely, you'll notice something off in their eyes. A slight tension, a hollow under the smile, an anxious energy as if they're fleeing from something. And indeed, they are fleeing from themselves. Internally, this is the narcissist's ego reboot. They try to inflate the broken self with any supply they can find: praise, attention, your reaction, or the admiring gaze of others. They don't need love, they need to be seen, because in their distorted world, being seen means existing. However, the more they try to rebuild, the emptier they feel. Every effort to prove they're okay becomes an exhausting performance with no end. And like someone pumping air into a leaky balloon, they eventually collapse from exhaustion. This is the most dangerous stage for the narcissist, a vague awareness that there is no one left to blame, no one left to mirror them, no audience for their drama. And when all their embellishments cannot salvage their self-image, they move into the final stage, the collapse within. Not a dramatic collapse, but a silent disintegration in which every layer of deceit that once protected them fades away, and they must face themselves bare, alone, and never truly happy. That is stage 6, the collapse within, where the final mask falls, and the narcissist confronts for the first time the void they have spent their life hiding. Stage 6, the collapse within, and then everything falls silent. There is no one left to blame, no one to mirror them, no social media noise or fleeting romances to conceal the void. Only they remain alone with themselves, in the vast, cold emptiness they have avoided their entire lives. This is the stage where the final mask slips away. And the most terrifying thing for the narcissist is not being truly seen by others, but being forced to see themselves. With no admiration and no reactions to cling to, their ego begins to disintegrate into tiny fragments, revealing the raw, fragile, and terrified human beneath. Part of them still tries to cling on, posting a few more pictures, uttering boastful words, or seeking an old supply, like an addict hunting for one last fix. But now, it is all just the twitching of a dying ego. On a deeper psychological level, this is the moment of existential collapse when defense mechanisms fail. They must confront what they have denied all their life, that everything they have done, everyone they have hurt, every relationship they have destroyed, sprang from the emptiness within themselves. Some narcissists never reach this moment. They escape by diving into another cycle, a new person, a new job, a new mask. But for those who cannot run away in time, they experience what psychologists call a narcissistic collapse, the disintegration of the self. There is no grandiosity left, no certainty of self-worth. Only a single, hanging question they dare not answer. Who am I, if no one sees me? This is absolute stillness where all the things that once made them feel powerful now echo hollow. There is no light to illuminate their face, no role to save them from reality. And in that darkness, for the first time, the narcissist must face their true self, a soul never nurtured, only camouflaged. No audience, no one to love, hate, or control. Only bare existence, and the primal pain of a child, never recognized. A few among them manage to rebuild from the ruins, but most cannot. For to begin healing, they must first admit they need healing. And that is something their ego will never allow. As for you, the one they hurt, you can look at this stage not with hatred, but with understanding. This collapse is not karma, but a psychological inevitability. Anything built on illusion will crumble when faced with truth. And that is exactly what is happening to them, a slow, unseen, merciless fall. You do not need to witness their final outcome to know that justice has been served. For when you heal, when you reclaim your peace, you become the truth that they could never touch. After all, you will understand that there is no victory or karma in relationships with a narcissist. There are only two parallel paths. One leads to endlessly running away from yourself. The other to learning how to return. When they keep constructing new illusions, you have learned to live authentically. When they seek others to feel worthy, you have realized that worth does not need proving it, only needs acceptance. And when they are terrified of silence, you find peace in that very stillness. Do not expect them to understand the pain you once endured. For to understand, they would need a heart. You, however, you have one, and that is what sets you apart from them. If you are still in a relationship with a narcissist, know this. Love cannot save someone who chooses to live in lies. Love can only save the one who dares to face the truth. Leave not to escape, but to be free. If you have just emerged from a relationship with a narcissist, allow yourself to slow down. You don't have to be strong right away. You don't have to forgive immediately. Just breathe. Because sometimes, the simple fact that you are still breathing, still feeling, still capable of being moved, is proof that you are being reborn. One day, you will no longer remember them with pain. You will only recall that there once was someone who made you forget who you were, and that, through them, you learned never to lose yourself again. Then you will understand. Justice does not arrive in the form of revenge. Justice is truth. And the truth is, you walked out of the cycle, while they remain forever trapped in their own cracked mirror. You don't need their collapse to find your peace. You only need to stop looking back, for when you no longer reflect them, all the power they once had will vanish, and that is the most beautiful victory. Not that they lost you, but that you returned to yourself.